G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope you are super well. Medium format Nikon. It's something that a lot of people are excited about. In this video, I am going to speculate, but also we're going to do some analysis of the market as it stands today. And this might seem strange, but it's with an interview of a Sony executive. Sony Electronics president and COO, Neil Manowitz. He's a bigwig at Sony in the USA, and he has had an interview at this year's Kando with Miguel Quiles. This is a really interesting interview because Neil states that Sony users are also equally interested in the question of will Sony go medium format just like Nikon users. Now, of course, we understand that Sony already makes some really exciting small medium format sensors, which we can see in Hasselblad and also in Fuji GFX cameras. So these sensors exist, they are continuing to be developed. We've got 50 megapixel versions and 100 megapixel versions, of course, most recently seen in the brand new Hasselblad. What are Sony's plans around medium format? Well, let's hear it directly from Sony themselves.
Sony medium format. What is it possible? Is it something that photographers can look forward to in the future? What can you tell me about medium format?
Is we've been putting a lot of attention, a lot of focus on full frame. What we talked about years ago, before the R4 and before even the R3, we talked about the idea that full frame sensors has a huge growth potential. And since that time, that's true, and it hasn't changed. Meaning, now we have the R4, we have Alpha 9 Mark IIs, we have Alpha 1s, and we're not stopping there. There's a lot of opportunity around full frame. So I would say is while medium format is a great option, what's happening and what has been happening is that full frame is just continuing to innovate further and further and making that gap smaller and smaller.
It's a really interesting clip because basically what Sony is saying here, and companies will always never reveal their hands. So we just have to start from that baseline. But clearly every single note of this response is that 35mm sensors have still got a long way to go. Development continues. It's nowhere near being finished. And Sony had these ideas as early as before the A7R3. So that's about 5 years ago now that there was just a super long way to go. And thus they're going to stick with the 35mm format. And since recording this video a couple of days ago, even more has happened in the Sony space. We now have the official announcement from Sony that a new camera is coming soon. And as we can see, this is on the 26th of October 2022. And indeed, the internet believes that this will be the Sony A7R5. It's going to be 61 megapixels and it will probably have a new sensor. So this totally follows through on what Neil was saying, that Sony believe there's way more that can come from the 35mm sensor. It's possible this sensor has faster readout, higher dynamic range, better ISO. We just don't know yet, but Sony continue to invest in 35mm and we've got this new camera coming now. And if this is the A7R5 in a 35mm format, then this clearly shows late 2022 Sony are fully committed to 35mm. So that is Sony's plan. What does that say for us about Nikon? If I was Nikon, I suppose I wouldn't be trying to start another line of bodies. If Sony see no point trying to cut some of Fuji's or Hasselblad's lunch, well, perhaps it's a really small market, and I suppose it probably is. I have absolutely no idea how many Hasselblad small medium format cameras sell or Fuji GFX cameras sell. What we can say in both cases is there's not a very large number of native lenses for either of those mounts. So there it is. There it is from Sony. They don't plan on pursuing medium format, at least formally. That is what they're saying at the moment. And thus, I would probably think, as much as a few years ago on this very channel, I really was excited about the idea that the Z mount, Nikon doesn't even have to change mount, which is a difference for Sony. I think they would. I really thought that it was possible for the Z mount. Now, that doesn't mean that it might not happen in the mid to long term, but I certainly don't think any of us should be hanging out for it in the short term. And when I say short term, I kind of mean 3 or 4 years. I just don't see it happening. I think we have to put small medium format to bed for the time being. And Neil also states that he believes the gap is closing between 35mm and small medium format. Now, that remark is interesting because, of course, any technology that they put into 35mm, they could put into small medium format and thus get those advancements in that larger sensor. But I suppose I still get the point that's trying to be made there, that effectively once we get to 40, 50, 60 megapixels, it's more than enough resolution for just literally most of us. You know, it's probably 99.5% of the market that 35mm or smaller will represent all of our needs. So why put efforts into new glass, new bodies, especially in Sony's case, for a very small part of the market? And as 35mm continues to just basically be just shy of what medium format's doing, then it's not overly compelling for you and I to buy a small medium format if our 35mm is almost as close. And this does somewhat bring me full circle to another one of my earlier videos where indeed myself, I'm a medium format user. I've had a couple of medium format film cameras, and I own a large Hasselblad medium format, not a small medium format, but a proper medium format. And when I first started using the Z system and I put the 50mm 1.8 on the front of that camera, I went, wow, this really does feel a lot like medium format. I am blown away. Check out this next one. Look at the quality of these textures. And just wait for it to render. There you go, it's rendered. Look at this. This is at 100%. Absolutely amazing. Again, all of these images are shot wide open at 1.8. And I'm telling you, the Z with this lens is providing an experience that I've never ever really seen before. I'm absolutely blown away. Sorry, that's not 100%, that is 100%. So this lens is an absolute cracker. The quality of these files are outstanding. I don't know if it's like this on your screen, but on my screen, it looks three-dimensional. It actually looks like it's coming out of the screen. Now, I think that is a mixture of sensor technology and lens technology improvements. But the thing is, lenses are just going to continue to get better and better. I think what Neil is saying is true, that 35mm, both visually, as in just looking at what the images look like, also resolution, you know, we are around the 50, 60 megapixel mark if you want to buy those types of 35mm cameras. It's so close. And of course, anybody who wants 100 megapixels, then sure, you've got to go and buy a GFX or a Hasselblad right now. But to reiterate, most of us just simply do not need that much resolution. And these companies ultimately have to go where the majority of users are. And Neil also states that we are absolutely in the golden age of sensor development. Now, that's got to be absolute music to all of our ears. And that says to me, well, sure, you know, they are still very excited about 35mm and what we can see happen. And honestly, we're only just getting into the early stages of stack sensors. Sure, they've been around for a couple of years, but now they're being rolled out in APS-C, 35mm, different sizes and so on. I reckon there's more technology to come. And I would guess, even so we haven't heard anything much about it, there's certainly going to be some more major developments in the 35mm space. I don't think any of us have got anything to worry about anytime soon, and certainly Sony plan to be in this market and creating cameras for a long time to come. Medium format, I don't think anytime soon from Sony or from Nikon. And well, I've never heard anything in regards to Canon heading in that direction. Who knows? Maybe they're quietly going to do it before anyone else of the three majors. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Please tell me, what would you like to see? What do you think will happen? And do you own currently one of those small, medium format cameras from one of the other manufacturers using the Sony sensors? Please do let me know in the comments below. And if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please do subscribe, please share, and please like. And I'll see you very soon. All right, just keep on shooting. Bye for now. Sunshine, sunshine, sunshine.